Here's a question nobody asks at a funeral. What happens after? Not the burial, not the reception, not the condolence cards. What happens to the people left standing there, months later, when everyone else has moved on and you still can't sleep? Sally Rooney has spent her career writing about the way young people love each other, messily, desperately, with their whole nervous systems. But with Intermezzo, she does something different. She writes about what grief does to men, to brothers, to the version of yourself you become when the person who knew you best is no longer there to confirm who you are. And the result is, I'm not exaggerating, one of the most emotionally sophisticated novels published this decade. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this book has broken so many people open. We're in Dublin, contemporary Ireland, and we open with a funeral. The Koubek brothers have just buried their father, a man described in fragments, never fully seen, but felt on every page the way a missing tooth is felt with the tongue. Peter is 32, a successful Dublin lawyer. Handsome, high-functioning, the kind of person who seems fine at dinner parties and absolutely falls apart in hotel bathrooms at 2 a.m. He's been with Sylvia, his college girlfriend, the woman he thought he'd marry, for years. But Sylvia is in pain. Chronic, unrelenting physical pain that has slowly changed who she is in the relationship and what she can give. And so Peter, half out of grief and half out of need, has started sleeping with Naomi, 23 years old, warm, uncomplicated, generous in ways that don't cost her anything yet. Ivan is 22, a chess prodigy, where Peter moves through the world in language, in argument, in performance, in the careful management of perception. Ivan moves through it in patterns, in logic, in the cleanly defined rules of a chessboard where every consequence is knowable in advance. He is awkward at parties and transcendent over a chess set. He doesn't know how to talk to people his own age. And then he meets Margaret, 36, a community center manager, recently separated, and something in him unlocks that nobody saw coming. Least of all, Ivan himself. Peter's sections are written in a stream of consciousness style that Rooney has never quite done before. Second person, present tense, the narration addressing Peter as you, in a way that implicates the reader completely. You are in the hotel room. You're sending the text. You're standing outside Sylvia's apartment, deciding whether to ring the bell. It's a remarkable technical choice, because it means we can't distance ourselves from Peter's contradictions. His love for Sylvia is real, aching, structural, the kind of love that organizes a life. He remembers the early years with an almost physical longing. He knows, intellectually, that what they had was extraordinary. But Sylvia's chronic pain condition, which Rooney handles with devastating sensitivity, has created a distance that neither of them chose and neither knows how to bridge. Sylvia withdraws. Peter reaches for someone who doesn't withdraw. Naomi is not a villain in this story. She's not even a complication, not exactly. She is simply someone who is present in a way that Sylvia currently cannot be. And Peter's guilt about this, his awareness that what he's doing is wrong without being able to stop, is the emotional engine of his entire arc. The question Rooney is asking isn't, is Peter a good person? The question is, what does it mean to keep loving someone whose pain you cannot fix? Ivan's sections are the emotional surprise of the novel. If you came to Intermezzo for the Sally Rooney, the articulate 20-somethings performing desire for each other, Ivan will disarm you completely. He's not like that. He is blunt in a way that registers as rudeness, but is actually just honesty. He finds small talk exhausting and chess tournaments restful. He has, until Margaret, never had a relationship that lasted more than 3 months. Margaret is older, more experienced, more tired in the particular way of someone who gave a lot in a marriage that didn't work. She is not looking for anyone. She especially is not looking for a 22-year-old chess prodigy who brings her wildflowers and doesn't understand why she's laughing. But Ivan loves with his whole person, unself-consciously, without tactics, without the performance layer that Peter and Sylvia and Naomi all maintain to varying degrees. He tells Margaret exactly what he thinks. He cries at things. He asks her questions nobody has asked her in years. And the relationship that develops between them, tender, slightly absurd, achingly sincere, becomes the beating heart of the novel. Not because it's uncomplicated. It isn't. Margaret worries about what people think. Ivan doesn't understand why people think at all, but somehow they find a language together. And watching them find it is one of the most quietly beautiful things Rooney has ever written. The emotional climax doesn't arrive in a dramatic scene. It arrives in a conversation. Peter and Ivan, who have spent most of the novel orbiting each other carefully, communicating in the short, loaded exchanges of brothers who were never taught to talk about feelings, finally sit together in their father's empty house. And Peter says something true, not perfectly, not without pausing and starting again, but something true about what he misses and what he's afraid of, and how he doesn't know how to be the older brother when the father who defined that hierarchy is gone. And Ivan, who processes the world differently, who learned from chess that the board always changes and you play the position in front of you, listens, really listens, and says something back that Peter didn't know he needed to hear. Rooney doesn't write this scene with fanfare. No swelling music cue on the page. Just two men in a kitchen with the lights on. But it lands with the full weight of everything that came before it. Every lonely hotel room, every chess tournament, every chronic pain flare-up, every text message sent at 3 a.m. to the wrong person for the right reasons. And it is quietly one of the most affecting things Sally Rooney has ever written. The ending of Intermezzo refuses to be tidy. This is a Sally Rooney novel, after all. Peter does not choose between Sylvia and Naomi in the way a lesser novel would demand. What happens is more honest, a conversation with Sylvia that doesn't resolve things so much as acknowledge them. Two people who love each other in a room together, finally saying what has been unsaid for years. Not because it fixes anything, but because not saying it was slowly killing something that deserved better. Ivan and Margaret face the reality of what they are to each other, and what the world sees when it looks at them. There is no triumphant declaration. There is just a decision, made quietly, to keep choosing each other in the face of everything that makes it complicated. The final image of the novel, which I won't fully describe because you should read it, involve a chessboard. And it is Rooney at her most symbolically precise. The game continues. The position changes. You play what's in front of you. It is not a happy ending. It is something better than that. Is a true one. Let's talk about what Intermezzo is actually doing beneath the surface. Because this is not a book about romantic love, not primarily. First, it is a book about grief and masculine emotional inheritance. Peter and Ivan were never given a language for their feelings by the men who raised them. The novel traces what it costs to carry that, and what it might look like to finally put it down. Second, it's about the difference between the love you perform and the love you actually live. Peter is extraordinary at performing, at being present in every social sense while being absent in every emotional one. Ivan cannot perform at all. The novel suggests that Ivan's inability to perform is, paradoxically, a form of freedom. Third, and this is the thread Rooney is most interested in, it's about what we owe each other when life becomes unbearable. Not the grand gestures, the small, daily acts of choosing to stay present with someone whose pain you cannot fix. To love people in the form they currently are, not the form you wish they were. And finally, there is something here about age and time. Peter is 32 and feels ancient. Ivan is 22 and knows nothing. Margaret is 36 and has been through enough to know that nothing is ever just one thing. Rooney is asking, at what point does the accumulation of experience become a wall instead of foundation? She doesn't answer that question. That's what makes it a great novel. So, the honest assessment. Intermezzo is Sally Rooney's most ambitious novel. It is also her most demanding. If normal people moved at the pace of a first heartbreak, urgent, intuitive, almost breathless, Intermezzo moves like grief itself, slower than you want it to, with meanings that only become clear later. Some readers will find the stream of consciousness style in Peter's sections difficult at first. Push through. It becomes essential. The choice isn't arbitrary. It's doing something precise about how trauma affects the narrating self. The Ivan-Margaret relationship is some of the best writing Rooney has ever done. Tender without being saccharine. Complicated without being cynical. The kind of love story that makes you reconsider your own assumptions about age, compatibility, and what it means to really see another person. My rating, 4.9 out of 5. It loses a fraction only because the opening 50 pages require patience that not every reader will give it. If you commit to it, and you should, it will not leave you for weeks. This is a book about people who are doing their best in impossible circumstances. That's all of us, most of the time, which is exactly why it hits so hard. That's your complete breakdown of Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, a book about two brothers, two women, one chessboard, and the impossible, necessary work of learning to feel things out loud. If this video reached you, if something in it reminded you of someone, or made you want to call your sibling, or made you think about the grief you've been managing quietly, hit the like button. It takes 1 second, and it genuinely helps this channel grow. Subscribe to Bookverse Studio for a new cinematic book breakdown every single week. We cover the books that actually matter, the ones that stay with you, that shift something in the way you see the world. And drop a comment below. Which brother are you? The one who overthinks everything, or the one who feels everything too simply? I want to know. I'll see you in the next one.